Go on a bit of an adventure, shall we? Righteousness, courage, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty. These are the 7 virtues of Bushido, the code of the samurai. Very similar to what one might, encounter in the code of chivalry. These 7 virtues, um, one of the one of the unfortunate side effects of modern society is the erosion of some of these values, and it isn't my intent to get preachy by any stretch of the imagination, but these are words that I try to live by to the best of my ability. Among other things, I also believe that fun is a virtue, and laughter cures a lot of the world's ills. And I think basically what I'm trying to say here is there is a dearth of all of this right now. The world that we're currently living in is filled with people that lack these virtues. They're the ones that are making decisions. They're the ones that are deciding our fates, and it's incumbent upon each and every one of us to sort of take the reins of our lives to the best of our abilities and extol our virtues and our values, and make the world a better place. Um, and you can only do this incrementally, little by little. Microtransactions with your fellow um, coworkers, strangers that you meet, people that you encounter on the road, in school, your day to day interactions. Um, it's incumbent upon you to control these exchanges, and for your part to make them sort of live up to your values, and in your inner sense of what's right and what's wrong. You can't control the actions of others. It's impossible, but you can influence them with your behavior. And I just basically I had an exchange with someone I know today, and they sort of had expressed that these are sort of values that need to be shared with people, and and this is how I live my life. Uh, anyway, end of the sermon. What you see before you is not a lightsaber; it's a katana. This is a katana made by a company called Chines, and this is what you would call an ieto, or a practice sword. It is made out of T10 carbon steel, and it's a bit of a heavy blade. Uh, it has an artificial hamon, and as you can see, the blade is blunted so as to not injure oneself. And it's meant for Ieto practice, and this is what I swing around for conditioning and to keep the edge of my cutting skills. Occasionally, I will go and do some cutting, and I'll practice with a live blade. But since my injury, which I have recovered from, I tend to be a little bit more cognizant of the possibility of injuring myself, and the desire not to do that. At any rate, now the reason why I bring this up is because there's a certain simplicity to the design of a katana. It's designed obviously for two-handed wielding. The right hand, is placed up here. I would demonstrate, but it's a little bit difficult to hold the camera and the handle of a sword with 2 hands. And your left hand is placed down here. Now, all samurai were trained and conditioned to to be right-handed when they wielded a katana. The blade was censured into an obi or a belt on the left hand side, with the blade face up, with the curved part up, and that's just the way they operated. This, of course, being a katana, and the companion sword, the wakizashi, or it's the long and the short sword, were the hallmarks of the samurai warrior. Only the samurai class were allowed to carry two swords during the heyday of the samurai. At any rate, this is made for practical usage, and it's a very, very comfortable weapon in capable hands, and quite devastating. And that takes me to what you're really here for, which is sabers. Now, I picked some select sabers that I consider my favorites based on their similarities to the katana and their simplicity. This is, of course, the Saber Forge Bastion. This is a weathered version. It's equipped with the Nano Biscotti V3, so it's been gutted and made into a Sith weapon. But you can kind of sort of see the similarities between this and the katana. Not in and of itself the design, but sort of the simplicity of the design. You have a pommel that's sort of easy to handle, and your hand will rest comfortably up here, and there's not too much in the way of greeblies or doodads in the way to sort of inhibit your ability to handle this weapon, which is why it's my preferred and favorite of all the Saberforge hilt designs. Ironically, it's one of the simplest. Of course, this is not present when you're wielding it. This is just the kill key. Secondly, I have, of course, one of my all-time favorites. Oh no, he's bringing it back again. This is my JQ Sabers Conspirator, and you can see the similarities. It's just more or less a greeble-free affair. There's not too much to hinder you handling this thing freely. The length is pretty similar. You can see kind of, if I line these up, they're all comparable in length, and very functional. The Apprentice Saber that I ordered from JQ Sabers that I'm waiting for to arrive is similar in design to this. A very, very simple, elegant saber, to be sure. Now we move on to my Kishi. Again, this sort of exudes a simplicity and an elegance. This actually does have a greeble here. This is the blade retention key screw thing you do, and this saber sort of represents a bit of a. I mean, it's quite literally the weapon of a foot soldier in Star Wars canon, and used by the Imperial Knights. And its purpose obviously was simplicity, the ability to be mass produced, and a degree of homogeneity between each of the wielders, to sort of denote like what their task is, what their purpose. Essentially, a foot soldier, like one would find in a standing army or the ranks of the samurai. And of course, this having this sort of sheath kind of effect sort of denotes a kinship to Qui-Gon Jinn's saber, and I consider him to be, of all the Jedi characters, he reminded me the most of the qualities of a samurai, the stoicism, there was a lot of qualities to his character. And lastly, kind of a saber that to me holds a considerable kinship to the Imperial Knight. This is, of course, my Ranger. my brand new Ranger. And this is just a marvelously simple design. The the cutouts, to be sure, are rather abrasive, but this one so far I haven't injured myself on, and I've been fiddling with this one for quite a bit, and it's a very comfortable saber, and denotes a similar quality to all of these other sabers. Now, the purpose of this was just sort of to show off functionality in a weapon, and each and every one of these can be sort of held and wielded similar to a katana. And as I've stated many times previously, I'm not a fan of having a weapon leave my hand. That is for a warrior. That's death. That's just death waiting to happen. So I don't do hand switches. I will rarely change the position of the blade in my hand. I sort of just wield it exactly like a katana. Obviously, there's more flourishes and techniques with sabercraft than there are with traditional the traditional art of Iaido. But if you go onto YouTube, you can see some pretty phenomenal swordsmanship. The Bato style is based on speed and elegance and lethality from any position, from any in close quarters, confined spaces, from being prone to having all kinds of disadvantages. You can wield a katana and to devastating effect. And one would hope that if a lightsaber is ever introduced into our world, there would be applications of a similar sort of discipline that would allow everyone to, just basically maximize the lethality of these things. So I'm not going to go without turning all these on and giving you the cacophony, because that would be unfair.
Power on. Saber Forge. Crimson.
Legacy. Imperial Light.
That one doesn't turn on. So thank you for entertaining me as I kind of rambled on and on and on about my philosophy regarding sabers. I hope you got something out of this video. I hope I didn't just waste everyone's time. Hello, this is very loud, isn't it? It is very loud indeed. Anyway, I hope you all have a very good evening, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you're so inclined, please comment, like, and subscribe. My love to you all, and have a wonderful rest of the weekend. TTYL. Bye.